Hey everybody, how's it going? This is TUSDarryl and welcome to the fourth batch review. Honestly, it's been so long since I've done one of these that I don't entirely remember how I did this. Let's wing it and find out. As I've said before in an earlier video, I've got 3 to 4 games here. One of them is an honorable mention, and I'll go over that once we get to that game. In the meantime, let's start with Buck Up and Drive. Ever wanted to know how it feels to really experience deja vu? To have been in this place before? Higher on the street! Well, look no further than Buck Up and Drive. This isn't a game that you can necessarily beat. I mean, you could collect and unlock all the cars, all 15 cars, by beating them as they appear on whatever strange, life is strange, whatever track or stage you're on. But otherwise, what you deem as beating this game is really going to be up to you, because the game could just go on and on and on and on and on. The stages I'm referring to here are all in the Endless Road. That's where you unlock these vehicles. They'll appear as your rival, and if you beat them to the checkpoint, congratulations, you win that vehicle. It's like Pokemon, except instead of taking the kids' money, you take their fucking Pokemon. Well, I guess if I'm really going for a one-to-one, it's more like you take the trainer themselves, which at that point I'm gonna have to call the FBI. This game is definitely a throwback to those old endless racing games where your goal is to get to the checkpoint before you run out of time. You know, like those old games that you used to play in arcades. The kids don't know about the arcade. Anyway, I had a lot of fun with this game. It's very, it's one of those games where if you just want to hop in real quick, get your adrenaline going with some awesome visuals and some really bumping music, then yeah, this is the kind of game you go for if you want to scratch that racing itch, but don't want to play a full 3 laps of something. You go for however long as you like, and then just let time run out if you want to. The controls do take some getting used to a little bit. I ended up, I kind of sort of spammed a lot whenever I had to do like a spin out or something like that. Shut up, phone. It's an ad. It's an ad. Why are you buzzing me about an ad? Leave me alone. We live in a society. But once you get the hang of everything, it's good. It's real good, and it's a lot of fun. Unsurprisingly, this game is a go for it. Buck Up and Drive is available on PC and Linux for $8. So tell me, do you hate your job? And I mean really, really hate it? Sorry if those questions hit a little too close to home for some folks, but I can't help it with the title coming up, Going Under. In Going Under, you play as Jackie, an unpaid intern at Fizzle, a corporation that focuses on replacing breakfast, lunch, and dinner with their drinks. And well, the higher-ups at the company are a little shady, to say the least. In this roguelike game, take to the underground and traverse increasingly different? Well, I guess they're different. Difficult is what I meant to say. Dungeons with some heavy corporate satirical flavoring. The game is loads of fun, and I found myself wanting to play again shortly after finishing it just shy of 12 hours. Frankly, you can finish the game in about 8, but there are so many side objectives for your coworkers that require you to go back to certain dungeons for the sweet, sweet permanent upgrades that I took a bit longer than I thought I would. The game also has a bumpin' soundtrack as well, so that's a plus. The art style of the game is very simple, yet very, I don't want to describe it this way because it's very stereotypical, but very indie, but it's endearing indie. Like, this is going to age very well over the course of, say, 20 years. It's gorgeous, just gorgeous to look at. That said, I did encounter a bug or two where the enemy was spawned behind a wall in the final dungeon of the game, but other than that, there's nothing too egregious. I also experienced some frame drops here and there in one of the dungeons when a bunch of enemies would be spawning and particle effects were flying all over the place, which is odd since the majority of the game holds up really well, so I guess some of those dungeons just kind of pushed it a little bit. Well, pushed the enemy count, I mean. But like I said, nothing too egregious. It's still completely playable even in that state. Going Under is a go for it in case you couldn't tell. So you can pick it up on PC, Nintendo Switch, PS4, and Xbox One for $20. And if you're still unsure about whether or not you would like it, then there is a demo version on Steam. Can't say the same for the others, but it might be a safe bet that it's true over there too. And now for the honorable mention, Golden Light. But first it's turkey time, I'll be right back. Now that my gut is fed and full of food, let's talk about another gut. I'm not joking. Golden Light is a surreal survival horror roguelike game where you attempt time and time again to save your girlfriend from the clutches of the gut. This game is terrifying and yet not terrifying at the same time, if that makes any sense. It plays a lot of tricks on you, and if you're not careful, you'll die quicker than the gut can sarcastically quip at you. The game also has some weird mechanics, not only environmentally speaking, regarding traps, but there's even a mechanic where you can hurt yourself with your own weapon to take on the properties of the weapon, like a buff or a debuff, or in some cases nothing at all and you just hurt yourself for no reason. But hey, that's okay, take out your knife. It has a regen stat on it, sometimes. So if you stab an enemy with it, you'll just be giving them regen, but if you stab yourself, you'll hurt yourself and then you'll start regenerating. Would anyone actually willingly do that? I really want to know. Would anybody willingly stab themselves if they knew stabbing themselves will, in the end, heal the wound or heal your body up more than the wound actually? I don't know. That's a stupid question, but the game makes you think a lot of stupid things. You're second guessing everything around every doggone turn. Sometimes the floor is not the floor. Sometimes the wall is not the wall. Sometimes that ceiling just goes on forever, and other times you feel a little claustrophobic. In fact, let me ask you something. Is that mouse you're holding? Yeah, that one right there. Is that a real mouse? Or is it just meat pretending to be a mouse? Meat that would inevitably try to kill you. This game will have you thinking that the girl that just passed you in the red dress is not actually a girl in the red dress, if you know what I'm saying.
Were you listening to me, Neo? Or were you looking at the woman in the red dress? I was... Look again.
Going back to the point and stepping away from my tangent on the weird mechanics of the game, your weapons have durability. They can run out, but you know, if the durability runs out, it's not entirely useless. If it has a buff on it or a debuff on it, you can yeet the weapon and hurt something and give it a debuff if it has a debuff, unless you want the debuff for some reason, in which case you would just eat it. Nothing is wasted in the gut. Now, I could mention other tips and tricks I've picked up from a friend, you know who you are, but I think I'll leave it at that. Visually, the game is unique, but frankly, it's not a lot to look at, but the visuals grew on me over time. Now, the only reason that Golden Light is here as an honorable mention is because while it's beatable, technically, it can also be endless unless you have a really solid run, which I haven't so far. So while I could have just waited until I finished it, like I did with Going Under, though that game is leagues easier in my opinion, I figured that because I already knew the score I wanted to give for this game, and I didn't want to wait anymore while I reattempted, I'd just say it's a go for it. I can follow up with a full review whenever I do finish it at some point. If anybody's curious, just let me know. You know how to do that thing. Oh, right. The game has co-op. So if you want to be terrified or be laughing with a friend, then I'd say hop to it. It's worth it. Trust me. Golden Light is $20 and available on PC. What? Look, not everything is going to be on everything. Okay? Jeez. And now our final game for this batch is Assault Spy. This game honestly took me by surprise. I was under the same mindset that I had with Dusk Diver, that this would be more B-tier anime goodness, and it definitely is. but much like Dusk Diver, it surpassed my expectations in the gameplay department. Both Dusk Diver and this game kind of fall into that category of don't judge a book by its cover. The game does not look all that great, it really doesn't, but it is fun to play. You can play as one of two characters, each with their own little takes on the main narrative. The first one is Asaru, and the other one is Amelia. I only played the Asaru route, but Amelia, I did play some of Amelia's, and though it very much mirrors what goes on in Asaru's, I'd still say it's worth going through altogether just for her playstyle. The combat in general is very flexible, and the two protagonists play very differently from each other. I'ma just tell you now that the story is a comedy and you shouldn't take it seriously. That said, there are some decent laughs to be had, and one joke that really does show its age. Not in a bad way, but just in a way of, oh, you made that reference. When did this game come out again? If you decide to play it or have played it already, you know what joke I'm referring to. With that said, the voices are in Japanese, so if that's a turnoff for you, then, well, feel free to look elsewhere. Not a turnoff in the sense of, oh, ew, Japanese, I don't want to hear it anywhere, but more like, you don't have English. You have English subs, but there's no English dub. If that turns you off, run away and never return. Now, I have to comment on the sound, though, and frankly, it's not very good. It's serviceable, but the game has a problem with how all of the sounds stack on each other. Specifically, the death sound effects for the enemies stack on each other. So if you killed like 10 enemies in a row, prepare to have your ears assaulted with the death sound effects volume cranked up by 10. Turn down your volume when you play this game, or any anime game for that matter, and you should be fine. I don't know what it is with games like this. Like it could be like the lower, I don't want to put them in tiers, but it could be like the lower tier stuff like Assault Spy and stuff like that. Then you have like the mid tier games like Hyperdimension Neptunia and etc. who can kind of get into the higher tiers. But sometimes the sound just does not mesh well. Hell, Dragon Ball is guilty of it. Some of the Dragon Ball games just get really loud with some attacks. I don't know what it is. All in all though, this game is short and sweet. You're not going to be playing it for very long. You can actually finish it in one sitting. I did. Or at least I finished Asaru's route in one sitting. I'm pretty sure Amelia's probably goes for about the same length, at least if I'm going based off how long to beat. After all, their stories more or less mirror each other. Visually, once again, the in-game models and environments aren't anything to write home about, but the stills in the VN scenes are decent. And the game has some style when it comes to its presentation. You could tell they had a direction they wanted to go with this, and I'd say they about got there. To wrap this up, the game is definitely a go for it, if you're craving a decent character action game. Assault Spy is $20 and is available on PC and Android. And that's that for this batch review. Good news though, DuoQ will be kicking back off in early 2023, couldn't tell you when, but I have Xenoblade 3 finish, Dion is about there himself, and we're just gonna have a slew of reviews ready for you guys. Not here though, on DuoQ. Queue up with us. So in the meantime, for this channel, for the rest of this year at least, I'm going to be playing 2 games, and one other one that I'm probably not going to be posting a review for anytime soon on this channel. Callisto Protocol, which is coming up very soon. Like if the video is not already up by the time the game's out, then by this Friday it'll be out and I will be playing it. The other game will be Signalis, a game I wanted to get to ever since October, but October was kind of a loaded month for me. The other game that I'm alluding to is Marvel's Midnight Suns, but that's going to be a very long game that I'm going to be playing in my own spare time, along with these games, which are technically in my own spare time. I have spare time for my spare time. That's probably where all the extra time I have to actually hang out and socialize with human beings goes. Sorry, social life. But anyway, that's that. I hope you guys have enjoyed your stay. I'm TUSDarryl, and I'll catch you guys next time. Later.